Far from the cities and deeper than the roads go, there exists a quieter India, carved into cliff sides, frozen in prayer, and whispered by the wind. These mountain villages live above 14,000 feet, yet most people have never heard their names. Here, monasteries guard thousand-year secrets, children cross rivers just to reach school, and the land itself decides who can enter and when. This isn't wanderlust, it's survival. This is heritage on the edge of the earth. This is India's highest mountain villages, places hidden not by distance but by altitude and awe. Chitkul, India's last village. Chitkul is located in the Kanawar district of Himachal Pradesh, nestled along the banks of the Baspa River near the Indo-Tibetan border. Sitting at an altitude of approximately 11,319 feet, it's often called the last inhabited village on the old Hindustan-Tibet trade route. The population hovers around 600 residents, most of whom belong to the Kanori tribal community. Chitkul is surrounded by snow-capped peaks and dense pine forests, making it a stunning but isolated destination. The village remains accessible only from April to October. Heavy snowfall cuts it off completely during winter months. Despite its remoteness, Chitkul has retained much of its traditional wooden architecture, with homes built using locally sourced timber and stone. The amazing fact? Chitkul is home to the last dhaba before the Indian border, a small roadside eatery that marks the final civilian point before restricted military zones. It's a surreal reminder of how close inhabitants live to one of the world's most sensitive geopolitical frontiers. Nako, frozen sacred lake. Nako is a picturesque village in the Kanawar district of Himachal Pradesh, sitting at an altitude of approximately 12,310 feet near the Indo-Tibetan border. With a population of around 700 people, Nako is known for its stark, arid landscape and centuries-old Buddhist monastery that dates back over 1,000 years. The village overlooks Nako Lake, a serene, high-altitude body of water that freezes completely during winter. Nako's residents are primarily of Tibetan descent, and the culture, architecture, and religious practices reflect deep Buddhist influence. The village is part of the Spiti Valley Circuit, but remains less commercialized than neighboring tourist hubs. Homes are built from mud bricks and stone, designed to withstand brutal winters when temperatures drop well below freezing. The amazing fact? Nako's monastery contains ancient murals and manuscripts considered some of the finest examples of Buddhist art in the Trans-Himalayan region. Scholars believe some of these works date back to the 11th century, making Nako not just a high-altitude village but a living archive of Tibetan Buddhism. Mud. Mud is a remote village located in the Lahal region of Himachal Pradesh, positioned at an altitude of roughly 12,500 feet. The village is home to fewer than 300 residents, most of whom practice Tibetan Buddhism and rely on subsistence farming and animal husbandry. Mud is the last motorable village in the Pin Valley, beyond which lies the Pin Valley National Park, famous for snow leopards and rare Himalayan wildlife. The village is accessible only during summer months. Winter brings heavy snowfall that isolates it entirely from the outside world. Homes are built low and compact, designed to conserve heat and withstand harsh winds. Mud's residents speak a dialect of Tibetan and maintain strong cultural ties to Tibetan traditions, including prayer flags, stupas, and monastery festivals. The amazing fact? Mud serves as the base for one of the highest polling stations in the world during Indian elections. Every few years, election officials trek or helicopter into the village to ensure its handful of voters can exercise their democratic rights. A powerful symbol of India's commitment to representation, no matter how remote. Tabo, 1,000-year monastery. Tabo is a historic village in the Spiti Valley of Himachal Pradesh, located at an altitude of approximately 10,760 feet along the Spiti River. With a population of around 500 people, Tabo is best known for the Tabo Monastery, founded in 996 CE and often referred to as the Ajanta of the Himalayas due to its ancient murals and intricate artwork. The monastery is one of the oldest continuously functioning Buddhist centers in India and the Himalayas. Tabo's landscape is barren and moon-like, with minimal vegetation due to the cold desert climate. Residents are predominantly Buddhist and maintain a lifestyle deeply rooted in spiritual practice and seasonal agriculture. The village is accessible by road, but winter conditions can make travel dangerous and unpredictable. The amazing fact? The Dalai Lama has visited Tabo multiple times and has expressed a wish to retire here, calling it one of the most spiritually significant sites in Tibetan Buddhism. This endorsement has made Tabo a pilgrimage destination for Buddhists worldwide, despite its extreme remoteness and harsh climate. Langza, prehistoric fossil land. Langza is a small village in the Spiti Valley of Himachal Pradesh, sitting at an altitude of around 14,500 feet. Home to fewer than 200 residents, Langza is known for its breathtaking views of the Chao Chao Kang Nilda Peak and its massive golden Buddha statue that overlooks the valley. The village is often called the Fossil Village because the surrounding mountains are rich in marine fossils dating back millions of years, evidence that this region was once underwater. Langza's residents are ethnic Tibetans who practice Buddhism and depend on barley cultivation and yak herding. The village is accessible by road during summer, but heavy snowfall makes it nearly unreachable for much of the year. Homes are built from stone and mud, with flat roofs used for drying crops. The amazing fact? Paleontologists have discovered fossils of ancient marine creatures, including trilobites and ammonites, scattered across Langza's landscape. Locals occasionally find these fossils while farming, making Langza not just one of India's highest villages, but also an open-air museum of prehistoric life, frozen in time at 14,500 feet. Kibber, snow leopard capital. Kibber is a high-altitude village in the Spiti Valley of Himachal Pradesh, located at an elevation of approximately 14,200 feet. With a population of around 400 people, Kibber was once recognized by the Guinness Book of World Records as one of the highest motorable villages in the world. The village serves as a gateway to the Kibber Wildlife Sanctuary, home to endangered species like the snow leopard, Himalayan ibex, and Tibetan wolf. Kibber's residents are ethnic Tibetans who follow Tibetan Buddhism and live in stone and mud brick houses designed to endure the extreme cold. The village is accessible by road, but only during the summer months. Winter temperatures can drop to minus 30 degrees Celsius, and the village is often cut off for 6 months. Agriculture is limited to barley and peas, and most families supplement their income through tourism and homestays. The amazing fact? Kibber is one of the best places in the world to spot the elusive snow leopard. Every winter, despite the brutal cold, wildlife enthusiasts and photographers trek here, hoping to glimpse this rare, ghostly predator stalking the frozen cliffs. Losar, ancient trade gateway. Losar is a remote village in the Spiti Valley of Himachal Pradesh, positioned at an altitude of approximately 13,400 feet near the source of the Spiti River. With fewer than 300 residents, Losar is one of the first villages travelers encounter when entering Spiti from the Kunzum Pass. The village is named after the Tibetan New Year festival, Losar, which is celebrated with traditional dances, rituals, and feasts. Losar's landscape is stark and barren, with minimal vegetation and vast stretches of rocky terrain. Residents depend on subsistence farming, yak herding, and tourism for survival. The village is accessible only during the brief summer window. The rest of the year it's buried under snow and completely isolated. Homes are built low to the ground, using thick stone walls and small windows to conserve heat. The amazing fact? Losar is one of the last villages on the old Indo-Tibetan trade route, which once connected India with Tibet through high mountain passes. Traders would rest here before crossing into Tibet, making Losar a historic crossroads of culture, commerce, and survival at the edge of the world. Gete, hidden sky hamlet. Gete is a tiny hamlet in the Lahal and Spiti district of Himachal Pradesh, located at an altitude of roughly 14,270 feet. Home to fewer than 100 residents, Gete is one of India's most remote and least visited villages. The settlement is accessible only by a treacherous footpath or by helicopter, making it nearly unreachable for much of the year. Gete's residents are ethnic Tibetans who practice Buddhism and depend on barley farming, pea cultivation, and yak herding. The village is surrounded by towering peaks and sites in a valley so narrow that sunlight barely reaches it during winter months. Homes are simple stone structures with flat roofs, and the village has no electricity or modern amenities. The amazing fact: Gete operates one of the highest schools in India, where children from surrounding hamlets gather to receive basic education. Teachers and students must brave sub-zero temperatures and isolation, making this school a symbol of determination and resilience. Despite the hardships, families continue to send their children here, ensuring that education survives even at the edge of human habitation. Demul, off-grid, Himalayas. Demul is a remote village in the Spiti Valley of Himachal Pradesh, perched at an altitude of approximately 15,100 feet. With a population of fewer than 150 people, Demul is accessible only by a challenging trek from the village of Lalung, making it one of the most isolated settlements in India. The village is surrounded by barren mountains and offers panoramic views of the Spiti Valley and distant snow-capped peaks. Demul's residents are ethnic Tibetans who follow Tibetan Buddhism and depend on subsistence farming and homestay tourism. The village has no road access, no electricity from the grid, and relies on solar panels for limited power. Homes are built from mud and stone, with thick walls designed to withstand the extreme cold. The amazing fact: Demul is one of the few villages in India where visitors can experience a completely off-grid lifestyle. Tourists who trek here often stay in traditional homes, share meals with locals, and participate in daily chores like milking yaks and harvesting barley. It's a rare glimpse into a way of life that has remained largely unchanged for centuries, preserved by altitude and isolation. Hikkim, world's highest post office. Hikkim is a small village in the Spiti Valley of Himachal Pradesh, located at an altitude of approximately 14,400 feet. With a population of fewer than 100 residents, Hikkim is home to the world's highest post office, officially recognized by Guinness World Records. The post office, operated by a single postmaster, serves several surrounding villages and attracts tourists who send postcards from this incredible elevation. Hikkim's residents are ethnic Tibetans who follow Tibetan Buddhism and depend on barley farming, yak herding, and tourism. The village is accessible by road during summer, but heavy snowfall cuts it off for much of the year. Homes are simple stone and mud structures built to withstand brutal winters when temperatures plummet to minus 30 degrees Celsius or lower. The amazing fact: despite its extreme remoteness, Hikkim's post office remains fully functional, delivering mail to and from the world's highest settlements. Tourists often mail postcards to loved ones, which are stamped and sent from this tiny office, making Hikkim a symbolic connection between the modern world and one of its most isolated frontiers. It's a testament to India's commitment to connectivity, no matter the altitude. Komic, edge of oxygen. Komic is a remote village in the Spiti Valley of Himachal Pradesh, sitting at an altitude of approximately 15,027 feet, making it one of the highest motorable villages in the world. With a population of fewer than 120 residents, Komic is home to the Tangyud Monastery, one of the highest monasteries on the planet. The village is accessible by a rough, unpaved road during summer months only. Winter brings extreme cold and heavy snowfall that isolates it completely. Komic's residents are ethnic Tibetans who practice Tibetan Buddhism and depend on barley cultivation, yak herding, and limited tourism. The landscape is stark and barren, with minimal vegetation and constant harsh winds. Homes are built low to the ground, using stone and mud to conserve heat. The amazing fact: Komic was officially recognized as the world's highest village with a motorable road, a title it held until nearby villages disputed the claim. Regardless, Komic remains a symbol of human endurance at extreme altitude. Families here survive on less oxygen than most people could tolerate, proving that where there's culture, faith, and resilience, humans can thrive, even at the edge of the sky. If these sky-high villages perched above the clouds left you breathless, wait until you see what daily survival looks like on roads carved through chaos and danger, where every journey feels like a gamble against nature itself. Don't stop now. Click on the brutal reality of Bangladesh's deadliest commute routes and see the other side of life at the edge. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and step into the hidden side of the world with Oddly Abroad.